Hello, Geometry. Today we are going to talk about section 6, which is the last section we're going to talk about with chapter 11, area and perimeter. Today we're going to be talking about a part of a circle. So in our last lesson we learned about finding the area and circumference of a circle. Today we're going to take a slice of that circle and find the area of that slice or the circumference of just that slice, which we call arc length. So think of area like the cheese on a slice of pizza. It's what fills in the section. We call the section a sector. And then think of the arc length like the pizza crust. So in our picture here, we have x, which is our central angle, which we learned in our last chapter, then is actually the same degree measurement as the arc. But with arc length, we want to not measure in degrees, but in a ruler kind of measurement, so like inches or centimeters or meters. Our formula for arc length is x over 360, where x is the size of the angle. Because the whole circle is 360, what we're doing is saying take a part of the circle. So maybe that part is 90 degrees, maybe that part is 120 degrees, maybe that part is 40 degrees, but some angle divided by the 360 gives us a part of a circle, and the 2 pi r is the circle. So really what this formula says is angle portion times whole arc length, 2 pi r. So we're taking that circumference times the angle portion. And in some of your problems, it's going to be helpful to think of it that way. Instead of thinking of it as 2 pi r, doing that replacement where we say that really another way to word this formula is x over 360 times circumference, because really that is equal to circumference. So we could just say x over 360 times c. For our area, there we're thinking about like the cheese on the slice of pizza. We have x over 360, so again, a part of the circle, times pi r squared, which is the area of a circle. So another way of thinking about this is the portion of the circle, how big is the angle over the 360 of the whole circle, times the area of the circle. That little c just means to say area of the circle, comparing that to the area of the sector instead. So we're going to go ahead and look at some examples of the examples already in the notes, and then I'm going to do a couple extra examples with you as well to make sure that you're well prepared for your Khan Academy assignment on this. So in the first problem here, we're asked to find the arc length and the area. So we're going to find two things. We're going to find L, and we're going to find the area of the sector. So I'm going to call that a little s, the area of the sector. We're told what our angle is. That angle, that's our x, and we're given our radius is 4. So I can draw a picture of this. I've got my circle that has a radius of 4, and then I'm going to take a slice out of the circle, and the size of that slice is going to be a 45-degree slice. So for length, our length formula is x over 360. What part of the circle do we have by its angle, times the whole length of the circle, or the whole circumference, which is 2 pi r. So we know that our x is 45, and we know that our radius is 4. So we're going to plug that on in there. I'm going to type everything into my calculator except for the pi. So I'm just going to skip right past the pi and do 45 divided by 360 times 2 times, skip the pi, times 4. So I get 1 for that. So our answer here is 1 pi. Then for our area, our area of our sector is equal to x over 360 times the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, the area of the whole circle. So x in our problem is 45, r in our problem is 4. And again, I'm going to type this all into the calculator, just skipping that pi. So I'm going to do 45 divided by 360 times 4 squared. I'm just going to skip that pi, and I get an answer of 2. I'm going to let that pi tag along on my answer there. So my answer for the area of that sector is 2 pi. In our next problem, we're asked to find the radius where we know an area of a sector and we know an angle. So we can draw a picture if we want here. We do not know what the radius is. We know our angle is 100. Draw a 100-degree angle here. And we know that this pie slice or pizza slice has an area of 10 pi. So since I'm given information about the area of the sector, I'm going to go ahead and start with that area of the sector formula. X over 360 times the whole circle, which is pi r squared. And then I'm going to plug in what I know. I know the area of the sector is 10 pi. I know x is 100. And what I don't know is r. So that's just going to stay as an r. Now to solve this, we're going to need a little bit of algebra. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by pi. Pi is a really important number, but it's also kind of a messy one. When we divide both sides by pi, it just completely cancels out and we don't have any pi's in the problem anymore. So now it's just 10 equals 100 over 360 times r squared. You could reduce that fraction if you want to, but it is not necessary to do that. I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that fraction. I'm going to flip it upside down and multiply both sides by that, because in doing that, it's going to cancel off both parts of that fraction, and it's going to leave that r squared all by itself. Then in the calculator, I can type in 360 divided by 100 times 10, and I get an answer of 36. Now that is r squared, so if I want to know what r is, I need to take a square root, and I find that the radius of this circle is 6. All right, I'm going to do a couple more examples with you to make sure that you're well prepared for what you're going to see on Khan Academy. So in the first problem that I want to do with you here, I'm going to say that we know that the area of a sector is 27 pi. And we also know that our central angle is 120 degrees. And what we want to know is what is the area of the circle. So in this problem where we're comparing the area of a sector and the area of a circle, the equation I'm going to want to use is that the area of a sector is x over 360, but instead of putting in pi r squared, because this problem doesn't talk about r at all, that pi r squared is the area of a circle. So this is just a different format of that same equation, that x over 360 gives us a part of the whole circle. Of in math usually means multiply. So part x over 360 of whole area of the circle. Then if we plug in what we know the area of the sector is 27 pi. We know our angle is 120. And what we want to know is the area of that circle. So like the last problem, I could reduce this fraction if I wanted to, but it's not necessary to do that. I can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. If we weren't using calculators, you definitely want to reduce, but since we're using calculators, it's fine to work with those big numbers as they are. So then I'm going to type into a calculator 360 divided by 120 times 27, and I get 81 pi on that. So that's how big the whole circle would be, and our slice, the cheese, is 27 pi. One other thing that could happen in your assignment is there are actually two different ways to measure angles. The other way to measure angles is called radians, and you might remember this from your Algebra 2 class, that in a circle, we have 360 total degrees going all the way around the circle, and we also have what is called 2 pi radians. It's like inches and centimeters and meters, or Fahrenheit and Celsius. It's just a different way of measuring an angle. So if we are working in radians, our area of a sector is going to be x over 2 pi instead of 360 times the area of a circle, or 2 pi r if that's what we wanted. And our length would be x over 2 pi times the circumference, or 2 pi r, if that's what would be more helpful. So for an example in this problem, I'm going to say we know the angle is 3 pi over 5. And we know that the area of the whole circle is 20 pi. And what we want to know is what is the area of the sector. So I'm going to use this first formula right here. Our area of a sector is equal to, x is the angle, so that's 3 pi over 5, over 2 pi, since we're working in these radians, times the area of the circle, which is 20 pi. Oh boy, there's a lot of pi's in here. So first, in the fraction, pi on top and pi on bottom, those are going to cancel out, and we don't have any more pi's there. Now I'm going to type into my calculator 3 divided by 5 divided by 2 times 20. So I can type that all in one piece. The 3 divided by 5 divided by 2, and then times 20. I just didn't type in the pi, and so I got 6 pi is my area of my sector there. So some problems may work in degrees, and then we want to use 360 as the denominator. Some problems might work in radians, and then we'll use 2 pi as the denominator. As always, if you have any questions, just make sure that you're emailing me. Have a good day.